I'll tell you one more story, otherwise I'd tell you thousands of stories. We live in a great country. Even when the bureaucracy didn't work, and there were parts of it that did, the military did a phenomenal job. There were exceptions to that. Absolutely, give them a round of applause. But we live in a great country. I'll tell you, the churches, the faith-based groups, the private companies, there are thousands of untold stories. I was talking to a widow in my district, trees all over her yard, couldn't get in or out of her home, didn't know what she was going to do. She was trapped in her home. One day a man knocked on her door, said, "Ma'am, can we remove these trees for you?" She said, "Well, I'm sorry, I don't have any money, I can't pay you." He said, "That's okay, we'll do it for free." She was skeptical. She said, No, what's the catch?" I said, "Ma'am, there's no catch. We're from a faith-based group. Our church has declared this area of Louisiana to be our missionary field for the year. We want to do this for you because we love you." She said, "Well, I don't belong to your church. I'm not in your denomination." I said, "That's okay, ma'am. We still love you. We still want to do this for you for free." She said, "Well, you boys, you do whatever you want out there. I'm not converting no matter what you do." They laughed. They said, "Ma'am, you don't have to convert. It's okay." She told me the story. She had tears in her eyes. I said, "Bobby, if God hadn't sent those angels of mercy, I don't know what I would have done. I may still be in my house to this day." And the reason I tell you these stories, I could tell you about the doctor who was turned away. He couldn't help a dying patient because of not having the right paperwork. I could tell you about the private companies that opened their stores and said, "Here are the food, water, and medicines you need. Take them for free." I could tell you about the sheriff. I flew down there right after the storm. He needed vehicles to go rescue people. I called Ford Motor Company. Within hours, they sent us trucks so we could go rescue people. By the way, I called up every other car company and said, "Ford just gave me a bunch of trucks. What are you going to do about it?" And I'm proud to tell you that competition works. But I'd also have to tell you about the search and rescue team that wasn't allowed to go into New Orleans because they wanted to bring armed escorts who had been deputized as federal law enforcement officials. They weren't allowed to bring their weapons with them, so they weren't allowed to go in and help people. The reason I tell you these stories is you might hear this and think it could never happen in America. But it happened in New Orleans, happened in Louisiana, it happened in America. As soon as I went back to Washington, I began telling my colleagues, other members of Congress, about this travesty, about what happened regarding the Second Amendment. Some people just kind of rolled their eyes. Plenty of people on the left thought this was entirely reasonable. You saw the clips. They thought this was the right thing to do. And even some of our friends just couldn't believe that it happened, said that could never happen in America. Not everybody was convinced we had to do something about it. It certainly is a stark reminder that we can never back off in our cause to put true blue down to the core. I say true blue, maybe true red, down to the core, Second Amendment believers in office in Congress. Thanks to your outcry, thanks to the good work of the NRA, we overcame those skeptics. We passed this important legislation so that never again shall our government render her citizens defenseless in time of disaster. Never again. Now I want you to think about what might have happened if Katrina had happened in 2007 instead of 2005. In 2005, we had a supporter of the Second Amendment rights in the Speaker's chair. Today, we don't. In 2005, we had a supporter of Second Amendment rights as chair of the Judiciary Committee. Today, we don't. In 2005, we had a president who signed our bill into law. Next year, there are no guarantees. And that's where you come in. It's a job I know you take seriously. In my campaign last year, I traveled to every parish, every town, every wide spot in the road in Louisiana. It is impossible to do that and not come across a whole lot of folks who care deeply about the Second Amendment. And like you, they don't mind telling you what's on their mind. They're not shy, I can tell you that. Even though a lot of folks knew about our work to pass this law, I was asked thousands of times where I stood on the Second Amendment. And I want to encourage you and gun owners all over this great country to remain that vigilant and that thorough. When you find a candidate, rake them over the coals good. We don't need fair weather friends. We don't need people just with us when it's easy. We need dedicated supporters of freedom and the constitutional rights guaranteed to every American. That means demanding that my party, the Party of Freedom, never nominates candidates who oppose Second Amendment freedoms. It means demanding that our friends of the Democratic Party vote their Second Amendment convictions when they vote for Speaker as well. And as leaders of our grassroots movement, that means the members of this movement have to make it clear to every candidate. If you want the votes of all of us who love freedom, you must take your turn at the watch, standing with us even when it is hard. I want to thank you for doing that. I want to thank you again for what you do. Thank you for supporting this organization, which rushed to my state to stand up for the Constitution, even when those who were sworn to uphold it would not. All of us in Louisiana and all of us who love freedom are in your debt. God bless you. God bless this great country, the United States of America. Thank you all very, very much.